We talked about the issue of that. One of the major issue that this policy would correct is that of eliminating the gaps in communication, and also that of infrastructure, which Mr. Dama here also spoke about. I want you to expatiate more, especially when it comes to involvement of the IT in this, in making sure that this policy is well implemented. Is there any way that the government is going to, draw in the networks and the ICT people to make sure that this policy is properly implemented?
Thank you very much. Let me just make a little clarification. There's a difference between a policy and a law. The policy is a robust framework provided to help the various subsectors within the information sector know the direction of Nigeria and work towards achieving a common objective of Nigeria being a developed country, a country of prosperity where there is harmony, there is unity, there is integration and all of that. So it's not like a law. Specific institutions have not been listed to say that this is for FRC and this is NTA, this is NIPR, or this is no. They are described according to sectors. For example, there's the broadcast sector. What should broadcasting be doing to promote, protect, and project the interests of Nigeria within and without Nigeria? We have a section for the print media. We have a section on advertising in general. We have a section on public relations as a subsector. We have a sector on language and popular culture, as well as a section on ICTs, information and communication technologies. So you can see that the different subsectors within the sector have all tried to be harmonized in such a way that there will be coordination. What is the coordination between government information subsector with the broadcast subsector? What should be the coordination between the print sector and the broadcast sector? What should be the relationship between ICTs and the broadcast subsector in Nigeria? All these things have been provided, and you need to understand that there are multi-sectoral approaches in all of these things. Now, the Ministry of Communication is in charge of the hardware aspect or the infrastructure or rather the provision of the backbone for communication infrastructure in this country. The ICT sector is in their own area. They provide, or rather, they have the policy mandate for that. If you care to check, you will find that Nigeria has a Nigerian communication policy, which is domiciled in the Ministry of Communication and Digital Technology. So it is their duty to ensure that the backbone for what broadcasting is going to do is sufficiently provided, especially in the in the hardware aspect. So they deal with the communication technology companies. But NTA, FRCN, and all the other sections are users of these facilities. So the first point is we need to have that infrastructure provided, and which means there should be coordination between the Ministry of Information and Ministry of Communication. If you go to advertising, you are dealing with issues of industry and commerce. Again, there should be some kind of coordination, because if the economy is good, advertising will boom. The same thing if you go to PR and all of that. So this is what the policy tries to achieve, is to ensure that there is this coordinated relationship, as well as to ensure that there is development. In the next 3 years, where should NTA be? Or rather, where should the broadcasting sector be in Nigeria in relation to the developments in digital technology? So, issue of funding. How can the broadcast sector be funded in general? Should there be private broadcasting? Should there be this? Should there be general frameworks that the policy envisages and in its objectives try to achieve? Now, if states are domesticating this, they will now go back to their own individual states. For example, if you take Borno State is a very big state. If you take Northern Borno alone, you hardly find Nigerian media signals covering some parts of this country. Now, what is the policy envisaging in terms of ensuring that there's comprehensive Nigerian broadcast signals? When you go international, how can our own broadcast sector, for example, coordinate to ensure that the image of Nigeria that Nigerians are presenting is in the interest of this country? What should the news agency of Nigeria do to ensure that the performance of the agency is in line with the general framework and development interests of this country? And then how can the Ministry of relate with international media organizations? How do we ensure that issues that affect Nigeria are positively projected in our relationship with all these international media setups? So is something that needs proper understanding for within the sector first. And then we now see who will be doing what. Electricity, for example, is not under the Ministry of Information, it's under another sector. But you cannot talk about the media functioning appropriately without talking about the need for electricity or power. Issue of diesel, for example, for their generators to run, is not in the purview of the information subsector, is elsewhere. But we need to have a robustly defined relationship mechanism with all these subsectors so that everybody will be seen to be performing in the interest of Nigeria. If you are talking about transparency and accountability, a question you earlier raised, there is a whole section that individuals have access and can utilize as well as internalize anything to do with information in this country. And once there is access, there is participation, then people will have the right to also go and seek for whatever information as envisaged in the law. So the whole thing needs to be understood within a very general and in a very federalistic manner. It's not as if it's just a federal government property. No, even local governments should be able to have their own information policies in this country because they also differ and they have their own areas of interest and the need for information to go down as well as information to come up. In every aspect in this country, there is information in it. And so long as they need information, they definitely also need to have something to do with the policy. It's now left for the Ministry of Information to popularize this policy at all levels. For us in the universities, there's a whole section on the kind of training that we need to provide to students who can understand Nigeria's direction. There's also aspects of research. What kind of research do we need to undertake to ensure that we are also operating within the precincts of these laws? So it's not just, an episodic kind of thing. It's something that has some structural linkages, has some systemic relationships, and is supposed to ensure there's coordination.